Okay. All right, so vocabulary, as you can see, there's no vocabulary. That now the vocabulary is coming straight from the New Testament from this point forward. Okay, liquid verbs. Liquid verbs. Liquid verbs are not as hard as they look. Again, just one of those things you have to kind of go through. There are some variations that need to be noted occurring in verb stems whose final letter may be a lambda, mu, nu, or rho. These are called liquid stems and occur in the future and aorist. Okay, so how do I make a future verb, liquid verb? Okay, I do four things. Number one, I add an extra, so let me take crino. So we're going to take crin. Okay, so that's my stem, right? So the first thing I do is I add an epsilon, right? So I add my epsilon. Then the next thing I do is I drop the normal sign sigma. Normally I would have a sigma if it's going to be a future, right? But I drop that. Okay, so there's not going to be a sigma, even though there, kind of pretend like there is. Then the third thing is contract the added epsilon with the normal thematic vowel and accent the contracted form with a circumflex accent. Okay, so in this case, my normal thematic vowel / ending is going to be the omicron or the omega. Okay, now remember what the rule is. That if you have a vowel ending, okay, and you have a vowel that comes just before it, they contract together, right? And they become this. But then you put this little circumflex over it to let you know that that's what's happened. And you can see it in your chart. You see where it says crino, and then the other one's crineo. See that? That's actually that's what's there, okay? But what you're going to find in the New Testament is this with the circumflex. Okay? Same thing with the crinice, which is your second person singular. Okay? So you do exactly the same thing, right? You start off with the epsilon, okay? Drop the sigma, okay? And then I add, what do I add? I add my thematic vowel / ending, which is this for the second person. These two go together, right? They pull together. So that means that I end up with this, with a circumflex. Okay? And I do that all the way through on all of them. And this chart is helpful because it shows you what is really there in the parentheses. And that's the way those work. Now here's a little cheat. If you look at every one of these forms, they all look exactly like the present tense, don't they? They all look like the present tense. They're exactly identical to the present tense, except for this. The only difference between the future indicative second person singular, okay, the only difference between that and the future is this. The future will have, or the present is just like that, the future has this. In the normal usages. Okay? You see how all of those verbs in the chart look like present tense verbs? They all look like present tense verbs. The only difference is they all have circumflexes on them. And the circumflex means that there's a contraction, which, and here, to make it really simple, these contracted, or these liquid verbs only appear in the future and aorist. They don't have any other forms. So they don't have a present form. So you can't even get confused. Okay? Now, when you go to the aorist is a little bit different, but it's actually a little bit simpler. In the aorist, you're going to have a first augment, okay? And this first augment will always mean that it's an aorist, right? Because there is no imperfect. So that's a slam dunk. But, as it says, number one, like the future, the sigma is dropped, so there's no sigma. 2, the normal aorist thematic valve alpha is used. Okay, so we put an alpha. And now we're done. That's it right there. So that is the first aorist indicative active first person singular form of crino, or crineo. Or I'm sorry, crino. See that? And so then if I want to make this into a second person, I just add my sigma to make it second person. If I want to turn it into a third person, what do I do? Take that out, put that in. Simple as that. And you do the same thing for your plurals. Any questions on those?
Can you go by that in slow motion again? Like somehow.
This
Yeah,
one?
yeah, the little translation there from.
Second and third and first person.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I start off with crin, right, as my stem. Okay, I've got my first augment. My first augment's going to tell me right off that it's an aorist because there's only the aorist and futures in these liquid verbs. So this tells me slam dunk aorist. Okay, I drop the sigma, which would normally be there for an aorist. I drop it out just like the future drops out. And then instead of using the epsilon like the future does, I use the normal alpha, which is what a first aorist would normally have, is the alpha.
Okay.
And then once I have that, I'm done. And then this follows the normal rule, right? Back in the secondary endings. You know the secondary endings start. This is the first person. This would be the third person. Okay, so I just change that out. That makes it the third person. If I want to make it the second person, I just add the sigma.
But doesn't turning it to an epsilon make it back into the future?
Well, it would if it
If
wasn't
you
for
didn't
the
have
rest.
an ending to it.
Yeah, if it didn't have, because the future has the endings, all these endings on them. Okay. Okay. So the rest of this is pretty self-explanatory. You can probably figure it out yourself. The relative pronouns, you'll see those. Those are in the chart. The chart is exactly what you would expect it to be, right? By now, this is nothing new. You know, it's the Haas, hey, and then ho, and then all the rest of them. These relative pronouns are things like who, which, what, that. Okay, those are your relative pronouns. Read over all of your examples because these relative pronouns can be used as subjects, they can be used as direct objects, they can, and even genitives as direct objects. But just look at the examples and you should be able to figure those out. If you can't, we will deal with them next week, and we'll deal with some of these because we'll have a little bit more time. Negative pronouns. On the bottom of page 117. These are basically, let me just read the paragraph. The negative pronoun is a combination of the negative particle and the cardinal numeral 1. Okay, so it's ice, my, or hen. Okay, and in all three of those cases, it means 1. Okay, it's either 1 in the masculine, 1 in the feminine, or 1 in the neuter. And it's translated no one, nothing, or none. So if you have the udes or udamai or uden, okay, that means no one or nothing or none or no. Okay, so you'll find things like there is no darkness in him. You will see this pronoun. I think actually you'll see this pronoun in the homework. You'll see this pronoun. Okay, those are your negative pronouns. All right, so your homework is going to be the first 4 sentences in lesson 28, and then 1 John 5 in lesson 29.
Wait, where do you find it? How do you get 1 John 5?
It says it right there, translate and be able to parse anything in 1 John 1:5.
You borrow your dad's
Oh,
Greek New Testament.
oh, okay.
See
Do
it?
they have Greek New Testaments?
Here.
I know.
You
I
didn't get
know.
your Greek New Testament? Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
She had one in her household already. So.
I've got one you can borrow.
Okay.
Just write it out forward from memory.
Okay, so also too, you see this little insert, the 131, the little insert there? That's a helpful little thing there. If you start on the 3rd paragraph from the top, the 3rd paragraph from the top, it gives you some general rules for distinguishing between the nominative subject and the predicate nominative. When you see he is righteous, trying to figure out which one is the subject and which one's the predicate nominative. These I think there's like 5 rules for how to choose that. If one is the pronoun and the other, then the pronoun is. If one has the article and the other does not, then the one who has the article is the subject. And he has like 5 different rules on that. They're kind of common sense, but they're there. Any questions?
So it's just 1 John 1:5, just verse 5?
1 John 1:5.
In numbers 1 through 4 from the previous lesson.
Yeah,
What?
you'll be doing 1 through 4 later on after that.
That's
Yeah.
You're just talking about these,
Yeah.
right? Okay, I thought
Yeah,
you
so
meant
you do
1
those
John
and
1.
then verse 5, just verse 5.
Yeah, just verse 5.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the next one, I think you do like verse 6 and verse 7, and then you back up and do verses 1 to 4. So you don't do them all in order, but
So if I'm missing next week for homework, in case she can't upload it, it'll be the 1 John 1:6 plus the.
whatever the homework is there, I don't know what the.
I just wanted to make sure you weren't going to be doing like partial.
I think-
So it'll be 1 John 1:6 and 1 John 1:8 and 9.
Okay, yeah, that's it.